Hey everyone, this is Rachel and welcome to another scrapbooking process video. If you hang out until after the video is through, there are always detailed shots of my current layout. Let's get going! Hey everyone, today I'm going to be working with a collection pack. The collection is called One Big Happy Family by Paper House. Now this is, all I have is the collection of paper and then the 12 by 12 sticker sheet that comes with it. So I'm going to be pulling in a lot of embellishments from my stash in order to flesh out my layouts. All right, folks, this layout is one of those where I'm working at a crop, so I'm going to be switching locations after I say, let's get going. So I have this one photo of myself in preschool. And yes, obviously someone made the awesome decision to have the pictures taken directly after nap time. Either that or I'm hyped up on Benadryl. Who knows? Okay, so I was inspired by, over on the left-hand side, you see that tissue paper. That was actually on the giveaway, takeaway table that Heather had going at her crop. And I was like, ooh, that's really cute. I wonder if I could use that. So I challenged myself to use it while I was at the crop. And when I saw this and I have those ruffles on my shirt, I was definitely inspired by that to create some on my layout as well. So what I'm doing now is I have the papers and I'm cutting vertical columns of various sizes, but all in a 12 by 12-inch length to run, as I said, vertically up and down my layout. So I have that navy small floral, the wood grain, but in blocks, and then the larger red floral, and then the multicolored banner. I am going to add a fifth piece of pattern paper to that. Right now, I'm just not happy with the way the banners fade into the white because they have a white background. So I'm just going to add another piece later on, not thinking that I was going to add the tissue paper, so it probably would have been fine. But hey, who knows? So here's where I'm kind of poking through and I find this multicolor circle pattern paper, and that's what I'm going to add at the end there. Just trimming off the branding strip, of course. Yeah, so as I was saying before, that is one lovely photo of me looking like a hot mess, but not not super focused in that photo, am I? Wait till you guys, at some point I will do my third grade photo, smack dab in the middle of the 80s. It's one of those where you look at the camera and then they have that photo trick where you're looking off into the sky. So that one will be coming up at some point in the future of this video because I find them to be hilarious. All right, so I've got the tissue paper and it's got a little bit of a sheen to it, so that's kind of nice. It brings another, not texture, but another, well, I guess it would be kind of a texture. So I'm just cutting a 2-inch chunk. I am going to have to go back and cut another one because it's not long enough. I will end up cutting away from doing this, um, once I get going, just because it's very repetitive. So I take my T-square ruler to run my ATG line of glue down, simply because I didn't want it to go all wonkified. The tissue paper does end up going a little bit wonky, but it's not so bad. And obviously, if you're doing this, you're not going for a precise look. So all I'm doing is laying down some tissue and then folding it back, almost like you're doing an accordion pleat, but obviously you're not doing it on top of each other, you're moving forward. So you can see it is wonky, and that's totally fine. Now, it does stick up in the parts where the pleats are. If you were doing it where, you know, you need it to be flatter, you could obviously add glue in each of the pleats, because I knew I was going to be covering up half of it with the pattern paper, which would keep the weight down. I didn't feel the need to do that. Now, before I get my pattern paper down, I am going to add some mixed media. I borrowed a couple of Distress Oxides in Chip Sapphire, and then I believe the other one is Festive Berries, but don't quote me on that. It's just a reddish color. So I added some water and just swirled that around with a paintbrush. And I'm just looking at where my photo was going to lay. And you're going to see, yes, this is very ugly. I'm not looking for that main part. I know my photo and my paper are going to go over that main part. I'm just looking for the edges. Now with the red, I don't do as much because I didn't want it to be like a blood spatter thing. I just kind of wanted some speckles. So you'll see here, that looks awful. That looks like a Rorschach test. And, you know, even putting the pattern paper over it, it still is bleh. So a lot of people I know who try doing mixed media are like, oh, it looks bad. It looks really bad. You're not looking for that center part. That center part would be what, you know, if it was looking pretty, you'd use as an art piece. You're just looking for the edges. And that's just what I'm looking for. So I'm adding some spatters in rose gold red, Jenny B blue. Those are both Shimmer's products. And then my Heidi Swap color shine in navy. So while those are drying, and I did cut pieces out of there for drying times of both the navy and the red distress oxides, but I just cut those out because I wasn't doing anything. I think I went to get lunch or something like that. So what I'm doing now is I am matting my photo in the same tissue paper. And I don't know why I don't use tissue paper more. I really do love the way it looks. It's just not one of those things that comes to the forefront of my mind quite often. So now I've got that. And see, once I put the photo on, oh, and you have to be careful with tissue paper because it can rip. Once I put the photo on, it covers up all the ugly bits, and all you get are the little ending trails of awesomeness. Sorry, that just kind of popped out of my mouth and made me laugh. All right, so now I'm moving on to embellishing. I've got a lot of pattern paper. I've got a lot of texture going on. I'm going to keep the embellishing pretty simple and the title pretty simple, pre-K. And I'm pretty much going to keep it all from the sticker sheet, just using the non-themed items. And then I'm going to also add a little bit of enamel dots as well. So one thing I will say is I am normally a proponent of journaling on every page. One of my exceptions to that rule are school photo layouts because obviously the title normally tells you everything. There isn't a story behind it. It's just this was my pre-K photo. I will actually go back and add the year, but I couldn't do it at the crop because I couldn't remember off the top of my head if it was 2000, oy vey, yeah, 2000, if it was 1984 or 1983. And this is actually my 1983 photo. So I did write, I just wrote it with a pen. But yeah, so here I am finishing up with the enamel dots. These are just some generic ones. I'm pretty sure I got them on Peachy Cheap. And that is going to finish out my layout for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you could flick me a thumbs up, that would be super awesome. Bye everyone.